sponsors of this event are. Heather Hatton, please.
First of all, I want to thank Dee for making the trip. That was awesome that you were able to be here. So we want to really thank the News Guard has for years been one of our contributing sponsors for, they provide a live feed. It will be on the website later, so that if you want to go back and review and what it did, you know, and what you heard, you thought you heard something, but you didn't. It's also going to be, it's live fed right now on the Chamber's Facebook page, so that's awesome. And I failed to really promote that, but Lincoln City Kiwanis has always been our timer and stuff, but Roger is Kiwanian, I'm Kiwanian, Lori's Kiwanian, so really the Kiwanis Club is a big supporter of this. And the other thing that I really like about this forum that Teresa Simmons actually said years ago is that it is, the way we do it is, you will notice that the public does not get it right. So we do that on purpose, because we want to make sure that the questions are asked in a really respectful way, and that the candidates have an opportunity to answer those questions. So we're really proud of that format, and if you like it, I did it. If you don't, Roger did it. So thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Heather. That actually came about because we had a gentleman from Toledo that would stand in the middle, and I finally, during a candidates forum, had to tell him to sit down and shut up, specifically. Lori Architoris, manager of the Lincoln City Chamber of Commerce. The way, the format that we're going to run, if you come up and explain that, please. Lori?
All right, thank you, Roger. Thank you all for coming. This is a very important forum, and we are honored to put it on with everyone else. So I just wanted to go over the procedures and formats. So the candidates will be brought to the stage, beginning with the county level at the top and the local level at the end. It'll go county, Lincoln City Council, Lincoln City Mayor. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to present their forum. Written questions from the audience will be read by Roger and received by myself. So if you're sitting in the audience and something comes up that you have a question about and you don't have a card, raise your hand. I'll try to be watching. I can bring you a card, or if you've got one and you've got a question, raise it and I will come and get it from you and get it to Roger. Questions must not be more than 25 words. I don't think we've got anywhere close to that. One question is allowed per guest, per candidate, their ward and their position. Questions will be screened for inappropriate content and length. No duplicate questions will be asked. Questions must be legible to be included, and I've rewritten some so we can read them. Thank you. A maximum of 3 questions will be asked to each candidate and their office. In the event of more than 3 questions being presented to Roger, he will have the discretion over which question will be asked. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question. The responses will be timed. So Jill Wolseley, our board president for the chamber, will be timing. She'll have a red paper that she'll hold up at 30 seconds and a red paper when you're done. So if all the candidates can please abide by that as well, that would be great. All right, we probably will not get to every question because we've got a lot of them, but the candidates will be around for 30 minutes after. So if you've got a specific question for a specific candidate, please find them after the forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. And we probably will not get to all the questions. For instance, that's the stack I have just for the mayors. So it doesn't make you nervous, it should. So we will begin this afternoon with our county commissioner candidates. We have 2. Doug Hunt and Jenny Demaris, come on down, please. Doug and Jenny. And I will begin by going alphabetically in order. Each candidate will be given 3 minutes to discuss his or her platform. Then we've got a number of questions that will be asked, about 1 minute to respond to each question. And at the conclusion, each one will have an opportunity to do a minute of summation. So in alphabetical order, County Commissioner candidate Jenny Demaris. Jenny?
Okay, can you hear me okay? Good. No? Okay, hold on now. First of all, thank you very much. I'm Jenny Maris, and I have submitted my name to act and represent you as your county commissioner for position 1. Each of the events that we've been to so far has been just like what I see today, a very robust and energetic crowd, and we're very welcome to take your questions and have that opportunity to discuss further. So today, one of the first things, I've never been an elected county commissioner position before. I may not be able to answer your questions quite as eloquently or in depth as Commissioner Hunt will. However, I do have a lot of leadership experience, and today, on the backboard there, I have presented what I believe is a new strategic planning model and exercise plan for county government. And keeping in mind, 1 of 3 county commissioners are the individuals that push forward any new plan, policy, or budget. So for my prepared statement in regards to this, I have a few short comments. I'm not running on any one current crisis or chronic issue that hasn't yet been resolved. I believe county government has to behave differently if we want different results. The community wants to see real and consistent progress on issues. Such progress requires clear, concise, short-term, and long-term strategies that incorporate input from the community within a defined financial objective. Timely and understandable reporting that validates whether elected officials are getting the job done. I offer a new or different perspective or approach to county leadership. I have an inside view of county services and see where we can evaluate and strengthen county services to be more effective. I bring a true rural community view to county leadership. I have a positive and proactive relationship with current staff, directors, and other elected officials. This familiarity in county services will allow for smooth transition. I have the skills and experience to build and implement the type of framework that I have proposed. My model addresses 4 key elements that are needed in our county leadership. Identification of stakeholders across communities to ensure no one is left out. Outline of the need for not only strategic plan, but a master site plan for those county-owned facilities and properties. An assessment of processes for county services and measurement of the goals and strategies we will establish. A streamlined approach with identified pathways to communicate our own findings to those stakeholders. Then we continue this planning and assessment process annually, in tandem with our budget development process for true government transparency. I believe I will work well with current Commissioner Hall and Commissioner-elect Jacobson to build that roadmap for our future, as no one commissioner can set policy, make changes, or define a budget. The 3 commissioners must work together as one body of government. I have proven through my roles as a community volunteer, school board member, and your county emergency manager that I am an advocate for our communities. Fiscal stewardship is a core value for me. We are the stewards of taxpayer and county service revenue and must always seek out opportunities for cost-effective ways to provide county government and services. Thank you.
Commissioner Douglas.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Dee. Thank you for the chamber for hosting this event. It's great to see so many people here this afternoon. It's a sunny afternoon. I thank you for taking your time to be here. And I think it's important to listen carefully and determine the differences between the 2 candidates for county commissioner. I moved here in the county. My wife and I moved here in 1988. Brought 2 children. We wanted to get out of the urban environment and move to rural Oregon. We've been married for 39 years. Yesterday, we celebrated 39 years, and we've really come to love and enjoy living here and working here in Lincoln County. Why am I interested, or why have I become a county commissioner? Because I like helping people. It was early in my career. Actually, I was attending Whitman College, where I was pursuing a degree in economics, and I became an RA, a resident assistant, lived in the dorms, helped students adjust to college life and be better students so that they had better opportunities when they graduated. We moved, as I said, here in 1988. I was a Little League coach and did have an opportunity to help people, help children better themselves. I was asked by a group of community leaders right here in Lincoln City to apply for an opening on the Lincoln County School Board. I served there for 9 years, and again, was in a position to help people better their lives. Now, as a county commissioner, I'm able to continue doing that. I think if you look at my track record, I've made improvements. The communities are better served, citizens are getting better services. I'm the only commissioner that brings financial background. I've got 39 years of experience in the finance industry. I help people realize dreams. I help them save their vacations. I help their children buy their first car. I'm the one that has a financial background, which is critical to the future of this county. Without proper management of our budget, we're not going to have the money to be able to provide the services that you all need. And I've limited growth. I've made tough decisions. We did not replace our Director of Health and Human Services. We have two very strong leaders within the Health and Human Services Department. We divided their duties and saved the county over $250,000. I'm also active throughout the entire county. Many of you in the audience have seen me here many times, whether it was community days. I was here when they dumped the grass cart in the Devil's Lake. That's how long I've been coming in this area. So again, I've got a track record of being involved. I've helped homeless issues. I've improved our mental health services. I'm involved in your communities, and I'm honored to be able to be here and ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Now we have a series of questions that have been done. You're going to get the first question.
All right.
Draw one out. And the question would be, what policy changes or investments are necessary to encourage broader employment?
Well, actually, that's a good question. I appreciate it. I have convened a committee to look at the maritime industry. And maritime, for those of you that may not understand it, is water activities on water and water activities on land. So I convened a committee to look at the maritime sector. As a result of those efforts, the legislature passed a Senate bill that created a maritime task force. I was appointed by the governor of that task force. There are about 17 members, and I was elected chair of that task force. So the maritime sector is one example of taking resources that are actually coming from Salem, funding that come from Salem, to develop job training programs, educational programs, to give people an opportunity to better themselves, have better paying jobs, and ultimately being able to be more successful.
We have some other questions that have been handed in, but I'm going to switch questions. And Jenny, the question to you. Should any part of the county budget be shielded from cuts? If so, which area?
Ooh, that's a very good question. So I would return that question with, what is our strategic plan? What are our priorities for county government? If we have a strategic plan for both policy, services, and the facilities that we maintain, then that question would be easy. We would reference annually to what the 3 county commissioners with the input from the stakeholders of Lincoln County had already identified as what is the most value for the stakeholders in Lincoln County, and how do we best serve them, and where are the funds that we use those to keep those objectives and those priorities number one. So no, there is not one issue that I would give you, because it should come from you, the stakeholders, to your county government in an annual plan.
Okay, Mr. Rob, the next question for you, sir. Draw one out. Do you plan to promote any changes to existing taxes? If so, why?
Well, I'd have to begin by saying, as a county commissioner, I have no authority to implement taxes or change the tax structure. Even the county commissioners as a group cannot vote to increase property taxes. Certainly the county has put forward transient room taxes, which aren't paid by our citizens unless you happen to stay in a local hospitality area. So do I have any plans? No. I think I would continue to utilize the transient room tax to support tourism activities, which are a critical part of our county.
Okay, the next question will go to Jenny.
Like being in the hot seat.
We are being asked to vote on a county initiative that would require the sheriff to avoid any state or federal restrictions on firearms. Do you support or oppose?
So in this particular
regard to not being a law enforcement individual, but I am part of the sheriff's office, I greatly respect the viewpoint of our law enforcement entities, not just the sheriff, but also the police chiefs. They also have a role in this as well. So I would look towards them for the guidance of that, and I would support their decision on this memorandum.
Okay. And third and final question, Mr. Hunt?
Well, Bill one's been lucky all that. I'm the oldest child.
If new resources were available, which one of the county services would you feel most needs additional resources?
Well, that's a complicated question, because if additional resources are of a one-time nature, you really can't go out and hire staff, which are recurring expenses, because once that savings or pool of funds are depleted, what are you going to do to continue the services? So if it was a one-time source of revenue, a one-time funds, I look at possible infrastructure improvements, certainly our roads, certainly buildings that would then enable us to better deliver services to our citizens. If it was a recurring revenue where we'll have it year after year, then I would look at increasing services, certainly in the mental health area, public safety, patrols, and certainly some activities relative to economic development throughout the county. So again, it would depend on whether the money was one-time or reoccurring. It's reoccurring, we can use it to expand services and maintain our services.
Okay. Jenny, your third question? What are Licking County's strategic goals? What are your objectives for the coming year?
So I've done quite a bit of research on this when I developed the model that's back there. There's a video on my Facebook page, on my internet page that I have. You would have to go through multiple county websites in order to find strategic plans. The sheriff's office has a strategic plan. I'm part of that every year. Public health does as well. But as a county government as a whole, there is nothing that I could identify that demonstrated there was a true strategic plan that was annually assessed with annual objectives that you could measure to see if we're making progress and what those are. So I don't know that they actually exist. My personal objective would be, first of all, to create a strategic plan, to create a master plan, develop an annual review process and an annual report. There should be an annual report to you, the stakeholders, the councils, the boards, the governments, the advocates, for those who can't advocate for themselves. That process should be clearly in place and communicated and disseminated directly from your city county commissioners.
I'm going to take the prerogative as moderator. I have two questions, but some people have put them out, so I'm going to ask the last two questions. In your opinion, what is the most important function of a county commissioner?
I think the most important function and responsibility is to listen to our citizens. Again, I'm proud of the fact that I've been involved in all areas of the county. I actually served on the Lincoln City Chamber of Commerce Board back in the 90s. And I've been active and visible throughout the county, regardless of whether it was election year or holiday season. And through that involvement, I've been able to listen, I've addressed concerns, I've responded, I've made improvements. I think that's the primary responsibility, and certainly managing the budget. If you don't manage the budget, you don't have money, the rest is going to be hard to accomplish.
Okay, and Jenny, your final question. What do you see as the most pressing needs for infrastructure or capital projects in the county?
Ooh, love that question. So you've seen the information in the newspapers and media recently about the fairgrounds. That's one event that's kind of taken care of with the fairgrounds. But if you look at the age of our county courthouse, where public health and human services are, where the sheriff's offices are, all the individual little rented spaces where everybody's in different places. I've heard 3 different rumors, if you will. One, the Central Lincoln Community Building. Should we get it? Should we use it? Should the sheriff go there? Should Health and Human Services go there? Should we build a new building for Health and Human Services? Should we do something different with the county courthouse? I actually have an email that says we're going to build a county courthouse, a new one in 2021. Where's that plan? Where's that information? Where's the strategy for long-term for what we actually do with our public infrastructure for county services? If you can find it on the website, please show me where it is.
All right, you'll now be each given 1 minute of summation. With Jenny went first. Doug, you'll go first on the summation. 1 minute, please.
Okay, well, again, I think I've had a brief opportunity to talk about some of the improvements that I've made in the way of better the lives of our citizens. Housing, I was here for the grand opening, or the re-grand opening of Ridge Apartments, 80 new units for low-income families. Mental health, I've saved money, I've expanded services, we're now seeing a third more clients than we were a year ago. I've improved county finances, we're now stronger with reserves. And I fight for equal rights for all. I've pleased and honored to have the endorsement of the National Organization of Women. And again, I've been able to respond to citizens. I think my track record shows that I'm responsive. So I ask you, as you're ready to cast your vote, ask this question. Do you want a plan or do you want action and results?
Jenny Guevara, your final summation, please.
Sure. The last part of that I would say is we have an exemplary finance department and finance budget committee. Those practices and processes are in place. And Commissioner Hall has many years of service as an individual to guide both Commissioner-elect Jacobson and myself as new commissioners. Lastly, what I would leave you with is I am not soliciting any campaign funds from any individual organization. I believe in financial conservative and stewardship. I am proving that you can actually do that on a very limited budget. And my last quote would be, how do we know where we're going, how we get there, or where we've been without a roadmap? A strategic county plan and assessment process is imperative for county and progression of county government. Not this 4-year term, but every 4-year term after this. It must be in place.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Very much, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good questions. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the questions. Now we go to county treasurer. I think we have both candidates here. Oh, they're both are wonderful. Ask both candidates to come on down.
Hey, Raj.
Okay. We'll just have them seated all of the time. That will work just fine. You're gonna make sure I've got your names, Jane and Rob, okay? We've got 3 minutes, or you'll have 3 minutes, and obviously, Rob, you get to go first. You've got 3 minutes to discuss your candidacy.
Well, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank everybody for being here and to the Chamber of Commerce for having us. It's always an honor to have time to speak directly with the voters of Lincoln County. County treasurer is a vital part of Lincoln County government. As primary property tax collector and investor of public funds, there are important factors to consider when making your choice as a citizen of Lincoln County. There are several reasons I chose to seek the position of Lincoln County treasurer. And a few of the main ones are, a comprehensive review of the current systems and policies is important within every organization, and the treasurer's office is no exception. Transparency is one of the most important duties of our government because an informed citizen is able to make educated choices. Currently, transparency is lacking. Having a say in the choice of your Lincoln County treasurer is long overdue. It has been over 25 years since the voters of Lincoln County have been able to choose who will head this office. I am a systems person. I have spent much of my professional career in the private and public sector reviewing the ways in which our organizations do the things necessary to succeed. Coming from outside the treasurer's office currently, I will be able to objectively analyze how resources are utilized and determine the most effective and efficient ways to use those existing resources. This is my greatest strength as a manager of people and budgets. Following a systems review, reporting to the taxpayers of Lincoln County how we are successfully using their investment in our county is paramount. You may hear tonight how our property tax monies are being invested, which I would suspect is the first time any of you will receive that information. Other counties in and out of Oregon post our monthly updates to their websites showing exactly how each dollar is invested and what the returns are on those investments. Lincoln County does not, and that is decidedly not transparent. Transparency, system reviews, and responsible accountable government come from the voters of Lincoln County having a choice at the ballot box. For over 25 years, you have not had a choice for this vital government agency. The process has been the Lincoln County Treasurer resigns or retires midterm, an interim treasurer has been appointed by the Board of Commissioners, and then next, that interim treasurer has run unopposed for each election cycle until they decide to retire or resign. This past June, the process was begun again when the Lincoln County Treasurer retired and an interim treasurer was appointed on July 1st, again leaving the voters without a chance to have a say. In this election, you have a say. Exercise your right to vote. You have a choice this year for transparency, efficiency, and efficacy. And I appreciate your time and ask you to support Rob McAfee for Lincoln County Treasurer.
Thank you, Rob. We'll now move to Jane Welch. Jane, you've got 3 minutes to discuss your candidacy. Well, we've got a problem with sound, but okay, you're short.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank Sheriff Wins and the Lincoln City Chamber for hosting this event. As a fellow member of our community, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jane Welch, and I'm currently your Lincoln County Treasurer Tax Collector. I've been employed with Lincoln County for 14 years. My primary duties are to oversee the Treasurer and Tax Department's functionality plus meet the statutory requirements needed. My main topics here today are to focus on property tax collection and treasury distribution. These two subjects are critical as they are an essential part of Lincoln County's treasurer's position. Number one, collections governed by statute. The Lincoln County Property Tax Department mailed out 46,573 property taxes in the year of 2017. The collection rate is at 97.65% as of September 30, 2018. In addition to the property tax collections from tax statements, there are other methods of collection, such as mortgage companies who pay the county directly. The treasurer is also responsible for revenues received from other bodies, such as Oregon Department of Administrative Services, federal and state forestry, federal grants, and transient room tax. The treasurer's office also receives all the revenues received in the county for items such as licensing fees of the animal shelter, fees paid to the planning department for building permits, fares for riding the bus, and the clerk fees for recording documents. Number two, distribution, also governed by statute. Making sure the distributions are done accurately and timely is vital to Lincoln County sustainability. The treasurer distributes these monies to the taxing districts and budgeted departments either monthly, quarterly, or annually, depending on the deposit of funds. Some taxing districts include education, cities, roads, and water districts. The treasurer also works very closely with the Lincoln County Finance Department to ensure revenues are received and received correctly. Measures are in place by both departments to confirm the monies are appropriated to the correct fund for budgetary purposes and accountability. The county treasurer also makes investments on behalf of the county. As you all know, interest rates have been very low since the Great Recession that hit our country. Oregon and Lincoln County were no exceptions. Here are a few governmental statistic rates in Oregon that I would like to share. LGIP is the local government investment pool, the entity that Lincoln County deposits funds for safekeeping and interest earns interest. The interest rate closed at 1.70% in 2017. Current rate is 2.25%. LGIP has been the major source of investment, and it is the most sustainable and the best interest rate for the county thus far. I want to thank all of you again for giving me the opportunity to share a few of the facts that substantiate and facilitate the county treasurer's job. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Again, we have some interesting questions. No idea what is on the cards. Jane, you're going to get the first one, please. And this question, it says everyone is nonpartisan, but I want to know what party you relate to. How would you make Lincoln City more friendly to a younger demographic?
Well, I'm nonpartisan as well, and I support that immensely. And to make a friendlier community for Lincoln City, I think Lincoln City draws a lot from tourists and local residents and what they give back to their community. I think that young people are, I think that they can just have their own guidance, and if they choose to live in Lincoln City or Lincoln County, across the board, hopefully we'll have jobs just to sustain that as well. Thank you.
Rob, reach into the stack. And the first question for Rob, what are the goals for the treasurer's office if elected?
Thank you, that's a good question. I don't want to just sit and complain about the treasurer's office. I think for the most part, we do a great job. As I talked about in my opening statement, accountability is a big part of that. For 25 years, since 1992, the voters haven't chosen who's in this job. There's been somebody unopposed. So I think a lot of that accountability will come from the choice of Lincoln County. In 4 years, one of the people at this table will have to come back and say, these are the goals that I've accomplished. There are a few things. The website, I think the website needs to work. Our investment can be, the way we invest our dollars can be done on our own. We don't have to go with LGIP. I would hope that we have control so we are actively managing those investments. I think there are probably policies and procedures that haven't been updated for a long time because there's been no accountability to the voter. And I think those are things that can change and things that should change.
Okay, next question, please. How much is the county treasurer paid?
Well, not nearly enough. The responsibility of the treasurer and tax collector goes way beyond the scope of just collecting a wage. The wages are dependent upon the county's budget and functionality of the funds available. The treasurer's wages, they don't change in the 4-year process like one would think. Someone that works for the county will get an annual increase or a step increase or that type of thing. The wage just stays the same for the 4 years that the treasurer is in place. Thank you.
Okay, next question, Rob. In your opinion, what is the most important function of a county treasurer?
Well, I think the most important thing is the accountable, transparent collection of property taxes and everything that's included in those taxes, from urban renewal to every other tax, all of your soil and water districts, your fire, police protection districts, are all collected as part of your property taxes. And responsible, efficient, effective collection of those is 97.5% right now. It needs to stay at or above that level. Next, you're part of the budget process. You're part of doling out those funds. You don't decide where they go by percentages because that's already decided by the people that are collecting them, where they were designed to be collected. But you are part of the budget process, and you have to have an idea of that. For the last 30 years professionally, that's what I've been doing, budgets. I've been a manager of people in budgets for 30 years, most of my career. That's for anywhere from the school district to private sector, running my own business, to right now I work for the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, managing a budget for them in the jail. So.
Next question, Jane. What experience do you bring to this position?
As I mentioned earlier in my statement, I've been with Lincoln County in the Treasurer Tax Collector Office for 14 years. I've had some great experience working directly with the treasurer, some mentoring with both our previous treasurer, two treasurers, very awesome people. With that said, I think what I mostly want to bring to the county is the fact that we are accountable, we're professional, we are stable, and we are public servants and will continue to be so.
Hey, Rob, I'm going to take a prerogative again. I've got 3 questions left, so we're going to ask them all. What is the most important decision a treasurer will make?
Wow. As I mentioned before, the treasurer's not necessarily tasked with deciding what's collected or how much is collected. There's, it sure would making sure that those monies are collected efficiently, effectively, and transparently. So in doing that, you have to pick the right people to work for you. As I mentioned before, publicly and privately in my career, the last 30 years, I've been interviewing people. I've had to decide when to unfortunately hire or fire people. Those things are important. Having been a judge of the people that are working for you, doing those jobs, handling our tax dollars day to day, I think is a huge decision the treasurer wants to make.
And final questions. What are we spending too much money on, and where are we not spending enough?
Wow, another good question. Well, where the money is spent within the county is, again, budgetary issues. I think that in support of our sheriff's office and mental health services and housing and that type of infrastructure type of deal is most importantly, I think that it is sustained and with the funds that we collect and distribute to the taxing districts, I think that the monies, in my beliefs, are very well spent within our county and are very well budgeted. And I don't think that there's overspending. I think our county has given it much thought of where they spend the money before they spend the money. Thank you.
And the final question, I apologize, this is a redo, but it was asked Jane, we'll ask it now of Rob, how much money is the treasurer paid?
Well, I can tell you public information that's on the county's website, so you can go look it up. If I'm not mistaken, the first time you're elected for the first 4 years, I think it's $6,700 a month. Right in that range. It might be a little high or a little low. But that's public information, so you can certainly go to Lincoln County's website and find that out. I think there is an incremental increase every 4 years, so every election you win, you're given a slight raise, it may be $400 or $500, I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure I remember reading that.
And now we go to final summations. Jane, you get to go first on the summations. You have 1 minute, please.
In closing, I promise to continue the framework that makes our county work with respect to revenues collected and distributed and meeting statutory requirements. I will achieve these goals by maintaining accountability, compliance, and professionalism. I have strong work ethics, and I am dedicated to Lincoln County with longevity and detailed work experience with my 14 years at Lincoln County. I will continue to give my 100% effort to maintain the stability that Lincoln County deserves. I will leave you with one last thought. Retain Jane as your Lincoln County treasurer. Thank you for your time and consideration.
And Rob, your final summation, please.
Again, I would thank everybody for coming out. I appreciate the time to speak to you and to voice our ideas and let you know what we think about the position. I think my experience, my track record speaks for itself. I think what I bring to the job are some new ideas, some energy, and some motivation to do things maybe a little bit differently than the county's done when there's been no feedback from the voters in the county to say what we want differently. I'm here to listen to you. I want to know if you've got some ideas, let's talk about them. I'm ready to make changes for the better, because I love and live in Lincoln County myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob and Jane, appreciate it. Now we move to city council candidates. I believe Ward 1, Mitch is not here, correct? Yeah, so we'll go to Ward 2. We have 3 candidates, Diane Coos, Nancy Oxenholm, and Jack Sparrows. If you all could not, please. Here's Diane. Here comes Nancy. And Jack is not here, correct? Have a seat, ladies. You get Dell's been acquitted. Then you'll have 3 minutes for opening remarks. We'll have a series of questions and then a minute of summation, again in alphabetical order. We'll begin with Diane Coos. Diane?
Very nervous, and this is my first time running for any government office, so here I am.
So you guys need to make sure you're not Roger, so make sure that mic's right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm here to tell you why I'm running for city council. Now that I'm retired, I have quality time to give and believe that the world is changed by your actions and not your opinions. I lead by example and I have a mantra. We are fortunate to live where others vacation, so be kind and give the best that you can. Over 24 years ago, I accepted a position as marketing director for an outlet center in Lincoln City. So with my daughter and young grandson, we loaded up our minivan and moved here. It became the best move in our lives. We both met fabulous men, got married, and became very involved in the community. Raised a stepson here, and today I'm very proud to say that we have 4 grandsons who live, work, attend high school, and all call Lincoln City home. As a matter of fact, we have 3 generations in the Lincoln City Kiwanis Club. We have experienced Lincoln City's highs and lows. Our grandsons were born at our hospital. We've seen the advancements and challenges within our school system, cheered for our sports teams, and watched small and large businesses commit to making it here no matter what. Along with my husband's activities in the fire service, and as a volunteer myself working in community outreach, I have a unique perspective of the many behind-the-scenes humans struggling most people are not aware of. Managing the outlet center equates to running a small city, and Lincoln City Outlets is Lincoln County's 5th largest taxpayer. The skills I've obtained and the knowledge acquired from my position gives me a balanced understanding of the budgetary concerns in maintaining buildings, landscaping, and providing a solid plan for growth. I had the opportunity to work with an assortment of companies and contractors and was also very active in marketing organizations, all with the same mission, tourism and increasing sales. Prior to living here, I worked with high-risk youth and continued working with area charitable organizations such as Angels Anonymous, Stuff Bus, the American Red Cross, Relay for Life, and numerous other meeting some very awesome people along the way. Working and talking with employees who come to Lincoln City to work are usually working 2 or 3 jobs and yet are just a paycheck away from becoming homeless. This gives me insight to our workforce and neighborhood needs. Affordable housing is a major concern. We must make this a priority and stay on task with finding a solution. There are many stories I could tell in her own time. And I'm an honest soul, transparent, and have no hidden agendas for running city council. I am not a politician. I am simply a person who wants to help move Lincoln City forward. I take the position of city council very serious and give it the quality time it demands. My focus will be to ensure that our residents' basic needs are being met: water, sewer, streets, police, along with being fiscally responsible when approving and monitoring the budget. I'm such a rat, should I stop?
Thanks, Diane. Diane Goose.
Sorry.
The other candidate running for Ward 2 position, Nancy. So you've got 2 minutes, or 3 minutes, please.
Hi, thank you very much for letting us attend the forum, and thank you to all that sponsored us. I appreciate that. First, I'll say that I am not Erling Oxenholt. I am not John Oxenholt or Bob. I do not have any money, any interest in TPN, or the hospital. We do use the hospital. I have been a nurse for 42 years.
Yep, there you go.
42 years in numerous places, New York, Texas, and Portland, and here. I've been down here over 20 years. We've had a clinic now, Dr. Bob's Health Center, for over 6 years now and serve many in the community. I stay on local events. I'm in the chamber. I'm on numerous nonprofit boards, so I go out into the community and see what is happening. I was one of the lucky candidates for the Ford Leadership Institute which was a project from a group out of Eugene, where we learned leadership skills, project management, budgets, and we were responsible for the benches in the Agnes Creek area and also the small walking bridge down there. I'm a doer. I was on the budget committee this past year, and it is, people think that once we pass the budget, that it's done, that was our job. But it's not, it's suggestions for city council, and then city council works on it, and then they pass it. So I'd like to see some of the changes that we had 4 meetings, the last meeting being a 6-hour marathon, basically till 11:30 at night, deciding on $55 million. And I think that we can cut it back, that we should have more meetings. There was not one person in the public that ever showed up for one of the open forums, and every meeting had an open forum. So I was a little disappointed because there's a lot of complaints about budget and where the money goes, but then there's people there that complain and nobody ever shows up. I support the police station. I am in support of the schools. I think we need accountability in government. That's a lot of money. Let's make sure that it's being used wisely and for all. I also feel affordable housing, workforce housing, what you think affordable is, it could be from $600 to $800. Somebody's gonna think $800 to $1,000. Everybody's mind is different. But there is a lot of homeless out there, and there's a lot of issues that need to be tackled. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. 3 questions, ladies. Diane, you get the first. How would you represent the area differently than Nancy? How would you represent the area differently than what Nancy would?
I'm not sure, I think we're both doers. So, it's out there and about. What I hear from our neighbors is taking action. And it sounds like we're both kind of people, so I don't know what I do differently. You gotta take action.
Nancy? How would you address the crisis of affordable housing? Easy one.
Well, affordable housing, I think there's different ways to handle this. I think there's grants out there, there's money from the government that we could be looking at. There's ways that the city could lower the fees for sewer, water. What I'm told is if you set up just a square of concrete and you put sewer, water, electricity, it's $75,000 just to start. So, and then of course your building costs. I would look at tiny homes. I would look at other buildings that are going up. Portland put in a 2-story apartment complex in 2 weeks, and it was all prefab, and it was done, and it was for the affordable housing that the prices they share. There's a lot of issues. Everybody has comments on it, but we train the workforce here, and we're seeing it in many of the businesses.
Okay, Diane, draw another question, please. What is the biggest challenge facing Lincoln City, and how would you address it?
I'd go back to affordable housing. We have a workforce, we have a shrinking workforce. We have a tourism economy, and we have a retirement community. And that is our 2 economic drivers. But the workforce, the group that has to be here, the service workers, the ones in the hotels, the one in retail, the one in restaurants, unfortunately can't afford to live here. So I go back to affordable housing as one of our biggest crises that we seriously need to look at a solution.
Okay, Nancy? What are the strategic goals of Lincoln City?
Mine or yours?
Yours. That's what we want to hear about.
I think that everybody's gonna have a different say on it. as Diane talked about, affordable housing. It's the traffic in the summer. It's going from 9,000 up to 35,000 people in the summer, and the stress it puts on businesses, the stress on roads, on the police. There's a whole group there. Also, the homeless is another issue. Mental health is an issue. Good medical care, the shortage of physicians in the area. So that's just a start.
Diane, your final question, please. How can you bring more living wage jobs to town?
Bring more living wage?
Correct.
Well, it goes back to diversity, bringing living wage jobs. I'm not sure because we are such a service industry or tourism and it's such a service-based workforce that we really have to look at how, because they're paying, I don't know, that's a hard one. They're already here, we've got the jobs here. The thing about it is they can't afford to live here. So it's one of these vicious circles that go around. If you start increasing wages, we can do what Portland did and bring up minimum wage to $15 an hour, but all that does is then increase cost of living for a business. And, for the services. So that's a very hard question. We can bring diversity into bring in a different kind of economy. We've thought about it. I'm not sure. We don't have the land to bring in, Amazon, plus then we have transportation, and then we have, it's so, again. It's something we have to look at. Again, it goes back to, we've got people here, let's keep them here, let's just find more places to live.
And final question, Nancy, in your mind, as a city, where are we spending too much money and where are we not spending enough?
Too much money. Well, probably, and it's probably get electrified for this one. I think that with 144 employees for the city, they have a $13 million budget. And I would look at ways to cut back, whether it's the PERS, whether it's the 10% of health insurance they pay. You look across the community, if you look across the country, benefits have gone down, ours have gone up. And I know a lot of that depends on union also. There's electricity's going up, sidewalks. We voted in to get the sidewalks get going because every year costs go up, construction, all your utilities. So let's get some of the work done. Let's look at, once it's done, was it done correctly? That's not gonna have to go back in 5 years and redo. But that's a tough one.
Okay, now we'll go to final summation. And Nancy, you get to go first, please. 1 minute.
So I've been here and I've been working in some of the departments. I volunteer. I think it would be an honor to be part of city council. I would like to be a positive force on the city and not a negative. I think that there's a lot of people out there with good ideas in the public that we just need to have them come forward with those ideas. We have a wealth of information from people. There's engineers in town, there's construction, there's medical, how to deal with mental health. There's a lot out there that we would be able to foster and partner without paying, without, let people volunteer, and I would try and get that volunteerism going.
All right, Diane Coos, your final summation, please.
Well, I want to thank everybody for being here today because it is very important that you be an informed voter. And so I appreciate that. Also, it would be an honor to work for City Council. I do not have the background in government, but I am very much involved in finding ways to make Lincoln City better. Lincoln City is good now, but let's just make it a little bit better and really work on affordable housing. In today's much divided country, we need to stay optimistic and we need to think globally and to act locally for our community. Together, we can envision a better tomorrow. And as Nancy says, there are many opportunities to volunteer. This position is a volunteer position, and I really love to see more people out there. And again, just thank you, and please encourage everyone that you know to vote.
Good luck, voters in Ward 2. I don't live in Ward 2, but I happen to have both of their signs in my front yard. I'm sure I'm happy I don't have to make that decision. That is wonderful. Thank you, ladies. Wow. Then we move to Ward 3. We have 4 candidates in Ward 3. Warren Helcutt, Rick Mark, Mike Holden, Larry Armstrong. Gentlemen, if you could all come down, please. And we'll begin a round of questions. And that was an interesting dialogue. Gonna try something. Really? Yes, says on the microphone. All right.
They might not. I have to test my theory.
Are you enjoying this format? And as we've been saying all along, gentlemen, each of you will be given 3 minutes of opening remarks, and we'll have a series of questions. You've heard some of them. Some may be repeated for your ward as well. And then from there, we'll get to the summation. And again, we'll go in alphabetical order. Larry Armstrong is going to be first up. Larry?
My name's Larry Armstrong, and I'm running for city council, obviously in Ward 3. I grew up here and in Portland. I went to Taft Grade School, Lincoln High School in Portland. I graduated from Oregon State in 1966. 3 weeks later, I was drafted into the Army. I did 2 years of service in West Germany in the 509th Infantry. I was a company clerk, PXC E3. Then I went into the publishing business. I sold law school casebooks and college textbooks for 30 years. In 2006, we moved back here to Lincoln City. Any reasonable person might ask, well, why did you go to the Taft Grade School and then Lincoln High School in Portland? And there is a good reason. My father was the managing editor of the News Guard when I went to Taft, and then he got a job at the Oregonian in Portland. I read his stuff when I was in high school and college, the stuff he wrote for the Oregonian, but I never read anything he wrote for the News Guard. And I was sort of curious when I entered this campaign, so I went to the News Guard, and I have a few extras over there. This is a copy of the editorial page from the News Guard on October 28, 1948, 70 years ago. These are the News Guard endorsements for the president and all the way down the ticket. The News Guard endorsed Thomas Dewey over the incumbent Harry Truman. Oops. However, to their credit, they published on Thursdays, so they did not have a big headline like the Chicago Tribune that said Dewey defeats Truman. Now, if you go down to the bottom of the ballot, here's what fascinated me. After the governor and the state reps and all that, the last position is, and this is my father's endorsements, well, the staff endorsements, for the port commissioners, Abe Abrams Jr. and Lyle Hasselbrink, fine public servants. We must keep these North Lincoln men on the commission. Well, I mean, it was 70 years ago. But here's what I found interesting. I actually knew Abe Abrams, and he ran the grocery store. in Taft. It's the building that Ace Hardware now owns. It used to be a paint store, and that was Abe Abrams' grocery store. And my grandmother would pick me up every day at 3 o'clock, and we'd go down there, and we'd do some shopping. But the main reason we went there was to go to the post office, because all the boxes were there, and we'd get the mail. But the point I'm making is this. Abe was busy, but he took the time to run for port commissioner. And I think it's wonderful that all of these people that are running are taking the time to do this. And I'm very pleased that all of you are interested enough to come and listen to us talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Larry Armstrong. Now we'll move to Ward Health. Ward?
I'm kind of a numbers guy. I counted you all about an hour after we got in here and there were 75. And I counted them again and you're 75. That's consistent and I like that. But I just want to let you know I appreciate this chance to say something because I'm not in the borders pamphlet. So it's a problem. I was taking care of my sister's funeral and I didn't have a chance to really get involved with it in time. So I didn't get involved with it in time. So, but because of that. Anyway, short thing about me, I came from two small rural towns, one in Massachusetts and one in the Enumclaw in Washington. So I have a small town experience. It's great. That's what we have here, I think, still. Especially in the winter, we're a lot smaller. I've enjoyed 43 years of marriage with my wife, same person, and 3 kids and 8 grandkids. And my main reason to move here was because we wanted a place for them to come see us and do things. And then I was starting to be bothered by the problem of what I consider traffic problems in town. And I thought, shoot, they're going to be teenagers and walking around town, and what the heck, you know? Eventually, I don't want them to get hit by anyone or anybody's kids hurt or any of that. So definitely that's my main issue. Safety is the only reason why we have a government. So why not that be the important one? So we've been here for 3 years basically, and enjoy it up by the shopping malls. My wife was a city girl, and so it works out well there. What I want to do here is really work with people. And that's the important thing. You people have opinions and if you're in the 3rd Ward, raise your hand because I want to see if there's a few. Okay. Well, the 3rd Ward, of course, is the one I'm interested in because I live there and I'm running for that position. So I want to make sure that their opinions are heard. And I believe opinions are no good if it's one person. You need a buddy. You need someone that I can recognize that makes that an opinion that's worth taking to the council. And I want to bring those things to the council at the times where there's public comment so that they know what the attitudes are, what people want, that sort of thing. And I'm not going to be the one to make up my mind, which is a good one and a bad one. That's no good. That's not my job. What I have to do is make sure they get the voice. And we consider it. Safety has been a big problem in my mind because just trying to look across the road, oh, red already. Well, I think if we are safe, we're much more happy. And that's what we're after for all of us. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to Mike Pols. Mike, you have 3 minutes. Opening remarks, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming. And Chinook, thanks for holding this forum. I find it much more efficient than knocking on doors and people asking me, well, are you for Trump? And then what the heck does that have to do with Lincoln City? But my background is I'm married. I for 34, 36 years. I've got 2 kids. I love them. I'm a Vietnam vet. I've been involved in politics quite a bit. I was with Ross Perot and United We Stand. He was the first national figure that said that lobbyists are running up and down the aisles of Congress buying legislators, and it's still going on today. I went, when Al Gore went around the country doing federal budget debates, I took part in that, and I was really shocked to see that most of the federal budget is already spent, and that and the legislatures just argue about some little bit. I was also on the budget committee here in Lincoln City about 4 years ago. And frankly, I thought it was a waste of time. I think that the councilors are there to be a check valve for the city government. And the budget committee was kind of rubber stamping. I'll give you an example. I said, well, excuse me, there's a $50,000 item in here for hiring a head auditor to find David Hawker's replacement. That's a lot of money. Don't you have an HR director? And, they kind of, well, yeah, but she's not really qualified to find somebody as talented as I am. And there were other things. They spent $450,000 on a wooden walkway over on East Devils Lake Road. I wondered who benefited from that. So I'm a retiree. I live on Social Security, and I think most of the retirees here live on Social Security. So the budget has grown 50% in the last 5 years. They spent $600,000 to rebrand the city. You've heard about Poopy Pants the octopus. I'm sure everyone has. $600,000 to rebrand the city. We need affordable housing. So, and the PERS on the budget committee, we locally, we have no jurisdiction over PERS or how much, but when I was in the private sector, if you got 6% towards your retirement, that was a great deal. I understand right now PERS is 18, 19%. When the city bought the Cascade Head property for $2 million, they said, well, we're going to sell 10 lots for $200,000 apiece, and we'll recoup our $2 million, which was a good deal, don't get me wrong, but who can afford $200,000 lot? Maybe people who work for the city, because the average salary, depending on which number, is somewhere between $80,000 and $90,000 for those 144 employees. The rest of us are minimum wage and Social Security recipients. So I want to be on the city council for selfish reasons. I want to keep our taxes down. I want to keep our spending to be intelligent. And I want the city to come up with metrics that we can all measure.
Okay, move over to Mark, or Rick, Mark.
You're not the first one to do that, Roger. I'm Rick Mark, running for City Council. Thanks to Chinook Winds and the Chamber and the League of Women Voters for holding this event. Thank you all for attending. I came into the city area 6 years ago with my partner, Rick Nelson. We moved her law firm down to a house we rented on the lake. Quickly, got to know the city, got to know people, fell in love with the area. We enjoyed the opportunities to volunteer. We both volunteered at the Oregon Coast Aquarium. I'm now on the board of directors of Neighbors for Kids, which provides critical after school and daycare programs for children at very reasonable rates. And happy to do that sort of work. I started to help make ends meet, needed to take on some part-time jobs, so I worked on the Devils Lake board as recording secretary. I took a hotel clerk job, worked for another law firm in town as well. And 2 years ago, the newspaper job opened up. So I came here after a career in newspapers, 30 years in newspapers and several years as a paralegal. I had to go through a career change, as many newspaper people did when the recession hit. So I did a little stint as a news guard editor 2 years ago, which was sort of my Lincoln City 101. It was my introduction to issues and people in this town. And I really enjoyed being part of the community and wanted to do more of that. When Kip Ward passed away, unfortunately this year, the seat opened up. I applied for the city budget committee. Larry and I and Nancy as well both served for the first time on the budget committee this year. That was more education into where your tax dollars go, where the revenue comes from for this city. So my education's continuing. There's a lot to learn, but being on the budget committee did make me feel comfortable with the process of going through all those numbers, asking the questions that need to be asked, understanding the sorts of decisions that the city council needs to make, and decided I would like to do more of that. So that's why I'm running for city council. In my campaign, I've knocked on more than 900 doors, talked to hundreds of people. I can tell you that high on the list of concerns for voters in Lincoln City is affordable housing. They're very concerned about homelessness, concerned about traffic, but also transportation issues for seniors. Is there a way to improve transportation, that sort of thing? So those are the issues I'm going to focus on city council.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Two newspaper guys up here, I have to say, I'm ready. And tomorrow morning, the three mayoral candidates will be on the air with me on KBCH at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. You can ask me more questions. And there is another newspaper lady here that used to own the News Guard, Margaret Junkie. Now, we'll begin a series of questions. Down the line, gentlemen, let's hand it down to Larry first off. You're going to get the first question. Try that. Question number one, if elected to the city council, what is the first thing you want to concentrate on? Number one.
I think number one, we really got to deal with this homeless issue. The only thing I can say about it is I think we need to think about moving the shelter, but there is no way I will vote to defund the current shelter or try and keep it from going and have an absolute replacement set up. Otherwise, it's going to get worse.
Okay, I'm down, Mark. All right, Mark, start. And the question is, how do you see the design standards and community vision projects immediately affecting Lincoln City?
I wasn't aware there were design standards. I think that's a goal. I mean, I like, you know, that little tie guard when you get off of 18, it's kind of a cute little enclave. I'd like to see Lincoln City look like that. But I'm not aware, and that's because I'm not probably on the council, of any, you know, other than sidewalks. I've seen the sidewalks plans, and I certainly support that. I guess that's my answer.
Okay, hand it over to Rick. Rick, the question is, what is your leadership style and how does it benefit the city?
Collaborative. I like to talk with, yes, city council is a 7-person board, and I'm very leery of making any sort of promises. I don't like making promises I know I can't keep, or that I don't know that I can keep. So in order to have city council function, it's really a matter of collaborating with others, but it also has to do with being informed, asking the right questions, doing homework, and then having coming to some sort of common ground.
Okay, now the Ward. Well-lit streets are known to discourage loitering, vandalism, and other crimes. What are you planning, or how are you planning to address the lack of street lighting in many areas of the south end to ensure safety?
Safety, that's mine. And saints, I don't own it, but I will if I chose. Safety, with the lights, I was gonna tell you a story about the lights. I studied the traffic a lot because I wanted to flag the intersection somewhere down there for better crossing of the road. It's a short-term thing, it does work, but in places where people are supportive. But I saw at 7, I went before 7 o'clock on a day in March, a weekend, and I was watching the traffic, and nobody was crossing the street at that time, but there were 19 people walking on the street, and I saw that the lights went out. It was pitch black. 8 minutes before the lights started to come up, the sun was not timed right. So those are things we have to observe and figure out what's going on around here on a regular basis.
Good, is some of the microphone back down? Larry, for the next question. What is the most important duty performed by a city councilor?
Well, clearly, I think the most important thing is to reach out to the citizens and listen to them when they come up to city council or when you're on the streets or whatever, and try and get as much information from the people that are paying their taxes.
Okay. Mike, your question is, the lack of daycare and shortage of reliable childcare in Lincoln City affects parents' ability to work. What steps would you take to resolve this problem?
Well, that's a good question. I wasn't aware that was a problem. My kids are 30, 34. I think what's happening is I think government a little bit, it does shotgun reaction to all of these issues. And I would like to see and work with the other council members to develop the goals of Lincoln City, publish those goals, get feedback from all of us taxpayers as to our priority of what those goals should be. And affordable childcare certainly is probably one of those, but where does that rank in terms of your priorities? And I think once we establish that as a city, then we start knocking them off one by one.
All right. What would, or how would you address the homeless problem?
Homelessness is a pervasive problem among people with lower income. Something like, I've heard numbers as high as 18 to 22% of the children in the Lincoln County school districts are classified as homeless. The visible face of homelessness, I think, is the transient population that we see, but it goes way beyond that. I think there's two issues. It goes to the affordable housing, and there are plans in place right now that the city is working on to provide land to developers who will provide housing that's going to be geared for workforce incomes. I think that's going to go a long way. As that housing is developed, I think it's going to go a long way to giving more people places to live. And as far as the transient population, the city held a meeting just last week, and they are moving ahead here as well to find a shelter that is safe and reliable and meets the zoning laws. So I think there's progress in both those areas.
Okay, and water. Take one from the end. How can we bring more living wage jobs to town?
That's a part of a much larger picture. We need places to put business that people can get jobs at. And that requires infrastructure work, in my mind. We need to be able to have an urban growth boundary that includes areas that we can actually offer that kind of thing. I heard there was a paper bag company in Toledo, which if we got banned the plastic bags or reduce the number of plastic bags that are in the city and on the beach, it may help their business. So those kinds of businesses are, I don't know, we need to search out what we really can get here. And good jobs, that's what's important.
All right, so the microphone back down. Larry, you get the next question. How would you encourage the strengthening and enforcement of city regulations to make businesses, tenants, and homeowners keep their property clean?
Well, this is a huge issue. And I'll just put it this way. I am a firm believer in property rights. I mean, property rights are a freedom that is as important as the Constitution. On the other hand, if you are a property owner, you have to be a responsible property owner. And if you are letting your cottage or your home, just look awful in the neighborhood, then I think it is proper for government to fine you or do something to get you to straighten out.
Okay, Mike? I have a question. How can we bring more living wage jobs to town? Jobs.
Well, I think the elephant in the room is obviously affordable housing first. That's going to require a concentrated effort. And then I think I'm a free market guy. But I want to say the last question that you asked was about the BRDs. I read a book called Lost Liberties, and it's how city councils throughout the United States have taken away property rights from citizens. I was involved in the BRD issue, and it's still, you people can rent them, but you can't, or you can only do it for 30 days. Well, I don't want to have my place at BRD, but when I pass, maybe my kids would, and they've taken that away from me. So I think there's a lot of issues that need to be resolved, but again, I said prioritize.
Okay, good. In your mind, as a city, where are we spending too much money? And where are we not spending enough?
I hate that question. I was impressed when I worked on the budget committee because we were given a long list of proposals for things that we could do with money at hand. The budget committee got to pick and choose, and discuss it and vote on it. And the items that were selected, all good projects and all money that I think was well spent. And that left another dozen projects that were also good projects that called for a lot of money, would have been money well spent, but we couldn't pick those projects because we just didn't have enough money. So you'd be surprised how close to the bone the city budget is. And by the time you pay for the sewers and the roads and the police force, which incidentally has an emergency communication radio system that's running on Windows XP, if you know what that is. And so the needs are great. Where you would cut funds, if you actually had to cut funds, I think you would end up cutting parks, you'd cut public artwork, you would cut those quality of life things that make the city more attractive. Of course, we need to make the city attractive because we need to bring in tourists. That's our big source of revenue. So that's a really tough question.
Okay, your final question goes to Warren, and the question is, Warren, discuss your goals to balance growth, affordability, and community values in Lincoln City.
I don't know if we can do that. It sounds like a tall order. Balanced growth with income, or what was the other two?
Balance growth, affordability, and community values.
Community values, we have to build that up first. And then the rest of it, I think, will follow. If we take our problems one at a time and make them single issue, not multiple issue. I've done a lot of work with solving problems in my time and experience with actually getting it done. I worked at Microsoft for 8 years as a tech lead, and I had problems all over the place all the time. So I think that's one contribution I can do for this. Let's see. Hello? Oh, there it is. Okay, we're here. We have to work on our attitude to help improve that. And it's very difficult for me to say exactly what it is without finding out more about the people.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to go to our summation. And Rick, you went last, so you get to go first. 1 minute, please.
I mentioned I come from a background of newspapers and working as a paralegal, and I've been trying to translate, how do I translate those skills into what a city council person does? And I think the best answer is that in all those fields, in order to reach a decision on a course of action, you need to understand the issues. One thing I learned in newspaper work is that there's more than one side to any issue, there's many sides. And until you explore all of those aspects, you really can't come to a reasonable conclusion. So some people think they already know everything, but that's not my approach. So I would work on city council to try to analyze issues, ask the right questions, do the homework, and then work in a collaborative effort with the other city council members.
Next will be Mike Holt, final summation, 1 minute, please.
Yeah, if elected to the city council, I will be an advocate, as I said, for the property owners in this town. I would also encourage the city council to immediately change the zoning so that the warming shelter can house the homeless until they find a better solution. City councils are notorious for changing the zones. They allow a business enterprise to switch the zoning so they could do the right parking. So why not let the warming shelter house the homeless? But as Rick said, it's a collaborative effort on the council, and I was a ISO 9000 auditor. I've been to China 3 times. I've seen where they make the iPhone, so I have a lot of experience. I don't know everything, but I work well with teams, and I look forward to getting your vote.
All right, send it on to Warren, and Warren Elcott, to your final submission, please.
Well, I'll focus on everything that's going on in the council, but I see with this problems that we have with our road, the traffic and getting across the street and doing things we'd like to do, and we can't do it in the summer as well. If I don't know at all. I think there's a way to solve that problem. We have to move the traffic somewhere else. And that sounds strange, doesn't it? But, and you all heard the word bypass. And I saw something recently in the paper, I looked at it in the internet, and I saw a bulldozer bypass for the sewer system, or the water system, I mean, here in town. It was in the newspaper, and maybe you guys didn't see it, but I saw it. And I'm thinking, we have to put it on the table, honestly, to figure out who wants not to be in the city and who we want in the city. And we'll come to that conclusion, I'm sure. And I know there's a way to do it.
All right, and final summation, we'll move down to Larry Armstrong. Larry?
You know, I spent most of my entire life selling law school books and college textbooks. And one of the first things a sales manager will always tell you when you get hired is every 10 people that you talk to, 9 of them are going to say no. And if you can get and close the deal 10% of the time, you're going to be okay. But you've got to at least get that 10%. I dealt with a lot of different kinds of people. Now, admittedly, they were all law school professors or college professors, but they're not that universal. They're still very different kinds of people. And I think on the city council, what you have to do is take every one of these issues, just one at a time, try and weigh them, be fair about them, and then make a decision on how you're going to vote.
Gentlemen, thank you. Discussion. Next will be the 3 payroll candidates, and I have about 50 questions for them. 3 payroll candidates, Nick Anderson, Susan Walkie, and Dave Dolly. That's a lot of questions. And again, each of the candidates will have 3 minutes of opening remarks. We'll ask you a series of questions as well, which have been handed in to me. We'll fly from the stack in no particular order. And again, candidates, thank you for being here, thank you for running. Good luck to each and every one. We'll begin first off, Dick Anderson, alphabetical order. The 3 minutes on your candidacy for mayor of the city of Lincoln. Dick?
Thank you, Roger, and I understand you want us sitting down, not to hit our heads, but to get the mics going, okay? Thank you, and for you who don't know me, I'm Dick Anderson. I'm running for and for the honor of being your mayor of Lincoln City. I'm not going to spend my 3 minutes telling you what you've probably already read or have access to in voter pamphlet, newspaper articles, online, and just me being around for so long. What I'm going to do is spend time talking to you about the future of Lincoln City. And I'd ask you to think ahead to January 2019 and what your city council looks like. It will look like 3 of the existing city councilors that we have now will move forward with 2 years' experience. 3 brand new city councilors who you just heard will move into seats on city council with 0 experience. Because as you just heard, none of them have any time at all with city council. Let me add to that, the city manager will be finishing his 4th year as city manager. In the planning department, top 2 managers have retired. So you have a void, as I'm trying to paint for you, about experience, history, and overall knowledge. So the question that I always ask is, what do you want your mayor to look like? What kind of experience should your mayor have? And I'll talk to you about me, Dick Anderson, 10 years with city council, 4 of those as your mayor, and the rest of the time as a city councilor. I also had the opportunity during that time to serve with some great people, Chester Norikis, Roger Sprague, Gary Ellickson, Wes Ryan, Lori Hollingsworth, all people you know and had a lot of time and experience. And they shared with me, mentored me along and through those 10 years to gain experience and knowledge about process. The mayor's role is not simply to open up meetings and close meetings. The mayor's role is to lead, guide, to provide background information. So, what you've seen is me in action as your mayor. You've seen how I think, how I deal with city councilors and the public, the accessibility that I have in gathering information. And diversity is really important on city council, and we have that and will have that with more experience. So history is important.
All right, next candidate, David Dolly. David, 3 minutes.
What does the paper mean down here, just so I know our timing difference? So red is 30 seconds.
Red, you're done.
Oh, red's done. And yellow, I have 30 seconds. Okay. I agree. I'd like to tell you something different than we've done about 5 of these forums. But I also just want to thank Susan and Dick and their families for running for mayor. There are larger cities in this state, and there's no groups of people running for the mayor. Salem, there's 1 person. Other city, Kaiser, 1 person. So I want to thank these families who are running for office. I grew up in Lincoln City. I was here in 1978 when the Selects Confederated Tribes were established, and I was in our schools. It's such a profound meaning to me. I don't remember the schools announcing that they were reestablished, and it's profound meaning for me to run for mayor and be in this town in the 70s. And my dad was a pastor and served this community, and he's why I'm running. This is a picture of me in Ocean Lake School, pump, pass, and kick. You notice I have patches on my pants. Because back in the day, we didn't get new pants. Our families during that era of being frugal, we sewed patches on our pants. And so I apply these lessons I've learned to being frugal and going forward. We're gonna learn a quick story in 3 minutes about the city of Lincoln City in '64. We were not a city, and the mayor of D-Lake, Buzz Flora, there was a press conference by the governor. He called this the 20 miserable miles. And that D-Lake mayor called Jerry Frank at the Capitol, and he told the governor to come to Lincoln City. And in 90 days, they did a competition against Lincoln City and Salem to clean up the beaches. The Rotaries, the Kiwanis, this whole town came together. And in April or July of '64, the governor's here in Lincoln City awarding Lincoln City an award. And the reason that that was so profound is the Portland papers were covering this competition. And you want to know what happened in the fall of '64? By coming together as a community, Kenny's IGA announces that they're going to build that shopping center. The Safeway shopping center announces. Salishan announces, and the building you are sitting in was announced because the families of Lincoln City came together and were a statewide leader. And I love that story. And I want to reinvigorate how we in 2019 can come together stronger than ever to solve these issues. Because we have big issues to face. We can delve down into them. But the fabric in this room and uniting us and building relationships to work together is what is a strong history here in Lincoln City. And if I'm your mayor, I want to be a champion around our current council, our city staff, our volunteers, our senior, many retired executives, male and female, now call Lincoln City their home, who have such great ideas to help us solve what we can do in Lincoln City. So thank you very much.
Thank you, David. You could have mentioned that Buzz Flora was invited to your KBCH radio. Susan Watkey, candidate for mayor of Lincoln City. Susan?
Thank you, Roger. Hi, my name is Susan Watkey, and I want to thank you all for coming today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about where I've come from that you may not know, and may give you an idea of where I am headed. I came to North Lincoln County 26 and a half years ago. I grew up in Oregon City and graduated from the U of O with a BA in elementary education. I then joined my husband, who was serving in the Army in Stuttgart, Germany, and substitute taught in the Department of Defense schools. I then was offered a job as a preschool teacher, and when I returned to Oregon, I continued working in preschools and running daycare centers. I know what a vital part of the economy that service is. In the early 80s, I started working in law offices and spent 30 years working as a legal secretary. When I came to Lincoln County, I worked for the city of Lincoln City in both the city attorney's office and at the police department, giving me a unique perspective to city government. I raised 2 daughters here who both graduated from Taft. 15 years ago, I was a single parent, working several jobs to make ends meet. I was in danger of losing my housing and reached out for assistance. As a result, I try to give back to my community. I understand what it is like to live payday to payday, trying to make ends meet. I have worked for small businesses in Lincoln City, and my husband owns a small business. I have been a small business owner. I am currently employed by the Bay Area Merchants Association, representing businesses in the south end of Lincoln City. I've been a chamber ambassador for many years and served as chair of the ambassador committee for several years, and also served a term on the Lincoln City Chamber Board. 4 years ago, I was elected to City Council representing Ward 1. I have been elected by my colleagues to serve as Budget Committee Chair, Urban Renewal Chair, and currently as Council President. I also represent Lincoln City on the Council Government's Board. Now I'm running for mayor, and I would be honored to represent all of Lincoln City. I've been fortunate to have lived here for over 25 years And my vision for Lincoln City is a place where we could have more full-time residents who work and raise their families here. We need more opportunities for family wage jobs and more housing for our full-time residents. We will always attract vacationers and retirees, and we need to be sure that there are services for our seniors. I want to see vibrant downtown areas. When I am mayor, I will work with the other members of the council to get things accomplished. As citizens and elected officials, we deserve mutual respect and courtesy toward one another, even when we have differences of opinion.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Now, serious questions, and I have a fan full. Okay. First question, what solution do you see to summer traffic?
Solution for traffic?
Summer traffic.
Summer traffic. That's a tough one, because when I talk to the business community, they love the summer traffic. So I'm assuming that's a question from a resident who is finally happy to have relief after Labor Day. The solution really is managing our time first and foremost, how we as residents, react with the traffic. Remember, our main street is a state highway. Bypasses may sound interesting and I can tell you that affordable. Likelihood is not going to happen to bypass Lincoln City. So we've got to find ways within our own infrastructure to time the traffic, to assist the traffic, as well as educating our own citizens as how they deal with it.
Okay, David?
Oh, I'm gonna answer the question?
No.
Okay. Hopefully I get another one like that. Okay, all right. How would I address the homeless problem? The last community I lived in before I moved here a year ago was downtown Salem. We have 600 homeless people in downtown Salem. I don't know why the West Coast is such a draw, but I only think that we would do a homeless count every year. And so first of all, I'd like us to do homeless counts and model what larger cities do. We also contracted with a homeless specialist out of Vancouver who did triage. He met with all 2,000 or 6,000 of those homeless and categorized them about who was just moving on to the next town and who really wanted services. So we need to plan, it's October, we have people who are fearful for their lives. We need to keep the homeless shelter intact, but that community did not sign up for that shelter long-term. They have a right to say they want it long-term or not, and we need to work through the spring, through the fall to find a long-term solution. We have time to get a solution that works for everybody, but the people in this room, you need to be around the table so your voices are heard.
All right, Susan, go ahead, question. What are your thoughts on food trucks, rideshare, Uber, and how these are functions in Lincoln City? What would you do to change ordinances so these small independent businesses can flourish in Lincoln City?
These are great topics to bring with the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission makes zoning ordinance recommendations to the council. As a council person, I need to be open to the comments that are made during public hearings and make a decision based on the record that's presented at that time.
Heather, would you like to change the batteries in that microphone to make the answer? Thank you. Before we get to the next set of questions, I got batteries here. Heather, batteries are here. I got them.
Oh, you have that. I thought you said you won't get that.
Just so it makes certain that this stays up.
Yeah, if you don't, if the bottom's a transmitter, so raise your hand higher and the Wi-Fi will go. We were grabbing it right here, so grab it near the base.
Want to make sure that everybody gets heard. question. Dick?
To there.
Pick one anyway. As you know, tourism is Lincoln City's major economic driver. We all know what happens when you put all of your eggs in one basket. With that being said, what ideas or solutions do you have to help Lincoln City become a more well-rounded economy?
I like that. It feeds right into what I've been talking about all along. We need to get our basics together first and foremost. And what you've heard a lot about today is housing. So you got to put the lens on how do we look as a community first and foremost. We don't have housing. We have raised questions about the quality of our school systems. There are questions about the quality of our health systems, and transportation is a big negative often. So those are, for me, are the cornerstones that say, if you're going to be attractive as a community to living wage jobs and to outside businesses that you need for diversifying your economy, fix those things first. I think we're on the right track. We just need to speed it up and focus on those things.
Okay, Dave, one question. What do you see, how do you see the design standards and community vision projects immediately affecting Lincoln City?
Well, I'd also like to welcome our online audiences of 3 on the News Guard and 4 on the Chamber. And I think when it comes to design standards, we paid a consultant in 2006, the top consultant to come to Lincoln City. He designed Whistler, Canada. Very successful tourism community. And it is awesome to have that person here. He's part of the Main Street program now. I've been part of Main Streets. And all the solutions have been in that folder since 2006. We need to look at that folder in 2018, pick out what we can do, and execute what the top communities are doing, both in Canada, in California. There's very key issues that are very basic, and we pay experts. What we lack is picking what we want to do here with the folks of 2018, because that's an old report. It's exciting that we have that report.
Susan? Question? With your, when you work together, you form a consensus.
Yes. I agree.
When you work together to form a consensus with the other fractions of the past 4 years, or will the other fractions, or frictions rather, of the past 4 years continue?
Our future council and mayor will look very different than our current council and mayor. We will have 3 continuing councilors and some new faces. And I think that one of the things we need to do is sit down together to be at the beginning of the year and decide which direction we want to go. And that is a decision that should be made together and as a consensus.
Okay. Dick, other question?
I love those very much.
I'm saving a lot of these for tomorrow. What do you see as the 3 biggest challenges facing our city and an elected mayor? How will you address them? Pick one.
Well, pick one. Heck, first and foremost for me is making sure that we're stable in our finances. And we have a nice revenue stream. What we need to do is prioritize our reserve funds. We've gone through recessions before and didn't have to eliminate services because of that reserve funds. Housing is huge. You've already heard that today. That remains huge to get accomplished and focus on it by accomplishing it. And then thirdly, I would put infrastructure on back to sewer and water being real important, because that talks about the future and why we even exist as a community at large. And we have done work sessions on our capital improvements for sewer alone, improvements of some $20 million. So it's not like something we can just forget about. It's got to be built and accomplished.
With homelessness, drug abuse, and mental illness being major issues in Lincoln City, like Mayor, how would you address these issues? How do these issues have an impact on Lincoln City?
We need to get all the stakeholders in a room. From our police, we have a new detox center in Otis. The owner of the detox center lived in Hermiston. He had so many Lincoln County people needing detox, he bought a local facility. We have a tremendous issue in our city. Many people very delicate. And our current system of dealing with someone in a crisis situation needs to be improved. I know the hospital is forming a mental health board, but we need to get all the stakeholders in the room and apply what other communities are doing to be successful. And this is so serious. We had the Coastal Caucus here. All of our state leaders were here at Chinook Winds as a host. And for the first time, of all the things we're dealing with at state, mental health, funds are coming, and it's going to be addressed at the state level. But like always, and you're going to see a lot of solutions to Lincoln City, unless we have a plan here on the local level and they bring statewide relationships and funding, we need to be ahead of the game. We need to be ready and have the stakeholders in the room.
Okay, Susan? And what do you think your first 90 days in office will look like?
Probably stormy. January, February, March, on the coast. I would like to see the council and city manager and possibly department heads to have to get to know each other session, a retreat type meeting, maybe a series of meetings, and get our goals together and decide which direction we want to go.
All right, we're going to go to summations, final summations. I have all of these play out. I have no idea what is on the cards. That's what's going to come out, and you'll respond to more of it. Final summation, Susan, when last at the opening, you get to go first on the floor.
Okay. I've enjoyed my 4 years representing Ward 1. Now I'm running for mayor and would be honored to represent all of Lincoln City. As mayor, I will reach out to neighborhood groups and keep office hours. We need to work with developers to provide more housing for our residents. We need to expand our economy beyond tourism, attract new businesses, and help current businesses to grow. We need to continue to maintain and strengthen our infrastructure and budget for our long-range needs. As mayor, I will listen. In a leadership role, often listening is more important than talking. I have the skills and experience necessary to be Lincoln City's next mayor, and I will appreciate your vote on or before November 6th.
David, in the middle, your final summation, please.
I would make a call to the young people of this community. Find a place where you can volunteer. Find a board or commission. We have people retiring here who have amazing resources to get involved. I know this is a short window, but I really can tell you right here, this man to my left and this woman to my right are going to pick up serving this community on November 7th. And we're going to continue to work to make this community better. And it's exciting of a community that has so many people that love this community so much. And I would recommend that you all get involved. Come to the city council meetings. In fact, go and look at the last 2 years of the council meetings, and at the end of every city council meeting, every councilor has 5 minutes to talk about a topic. And I want you to look how much homelessness has been talked about, how much has housing been talked about, And how much has jobs been talked about? And I want to make a charge to the council going forward. Do not leave a meeting in 2019 where you were addressing, thinking, sleeping on solving those issues in your 5 minutes of every council meeting. Thank you.
Dick Anderson, final summation, please.
Lincoln City is a great place to live, work, and play. And we all have a vision of its future and how it might be improved for all of our citizens. I'm not interested in a stagnant community. I want to see Lincoln City grow and provide for the future of all our citizens. And for me, that means a diverse economy, living wage jobs, better schools, and upward mobility for career growth. To accomplish this, we need to establish cornerstones of a healthy community: housing, schools, medical facilities, and transportation. Let me lead the City Council as your mayor to lay these cornerstones and advance the building of the structure. I'd ask for your vote, Dick Anderson for mayor.
Thank you. One of the better candidates fairs, just communities that are good fortune to host. Special thanks goes to Lori from the chamber, Heather